This presentation is about microinvestments and the growth of wealth within Sub-Saharan Africa. What makes Sub-Saharan Africa different, and why did I choose this region over several others? To start, I need to provide a little bit of history. The world economy has grown at a tremendous pace since the Industrial Revolution, and a substantial amount of people, because of this, are better off now than several centuries ago. Many countries in Sub-Saharan Africa, although writing off the benefits of this world prosperity, have been left behind in terms of economic growth. And while the exact causes of this division of wealth is unknown, some factors are known to play a part, like corruption, political instability, and even cultural differences. And the countries in Sub-Saharan Africa are now a hotspot for investments of all kinds because of the potential for growth. And it is this potential for growth that investors seek after, because a higher growth means a higher return on investment. So what are microinvestments exactly? Microinvestments are a type of investment that allow for an investor to dedicate only a small amount of money compared to larger scale investments, which sometimes require investors to dedicate thousands of dollars to one particular investment project. And these types of investments have grown to become popular only in the last decade. And there are several different types of microinvestments, and investors can choose to invest for profit, which most of them do, but some also invest for charity, which is called micro-lending, but it's also a subsection of microinvestments. Now, new techniques such as crowdfunding have been introduced and popularized alongside the growth of corporations that have developed with the microinvestment industry. And what crowdfunding is, it's really just an accumulation of resources generated from thousands and sometimes even millions of microinvestors to raise funds that are sufficient for just one particular project, and a lot of funding can be generated this way. So why do people microinvest? It's because the investor generates wealth from the success rate of their investment, but also the more overlooked portion is the investee also benefits from microinvestments. And with the investee benefiting in mind, that is what most of this project is based off of, which is how is it possible to increase the efficiency of these investments in order to increase wealth in Sub-Saharan Africa, and what new techniques can be implemented to benefit the investee more in the investment region that they are in. So the scholarly conversation regarding my topic is actually quite an interesting one. With the popularity of microinvestments over the past decade, a lot of articles have already been generated regarding this popularity, and now scholars are trying to find new ways to optimize the system. Most articles that have been generated over the past year seem to agree with the idea that microinvestments are generally beneficial to countries in Sub-Saharan Africa, and there are actually very few articles that challenge this idea. Some relevant strategies that scholars have discovered are joint liability, the role of friendships, and the effect of the crowd on crowdfunding, all of which have been proven to increase the success rate of microinvestments. And one article also represents the question that is unasked, which is, do these proposed investment techniques behave the same in the region of Sub-Saharan Africa as opposed to more developed countries? And the research shows in that article that actually no, these investment strategies behave differently in Sub-Saharan Africa when compared to more developed countries. The goal of this research project is to answer one question, and that is, how can microinvestments be optimized to promote a greater efficiency of the growth of wealth within Sub-Saharan Africa? Since microinvestments are already popular, I chose microinvestments and the efficiency that can be generated with them because I want to ride off of this popularity and determine ways that this specific type of investment can generate wealth for the region. And when proposing the research that needs to be done in this field, it's important to keep the scholarly conversations that I mentioned before and the research that they generated in perspective, so I can add on to the ongoing conversation rather than just repeating certain things that have already been mentioned. And the best method of increasing wealth within Sub-Saharan Africa should actually be based off of not only economic formulas, but formulas that have been implemented in the region, meaning that they have been tried and proven to be successful, which is comparable to the last article that says Sub-Saharan Africa behaves different. So having methods that have actually been implemented in Sub-Saharan Africa reduces the probability that these are unlikely to be realistic. And finally, new gaps in the scholarly conversation must be considered. While it is impossible to avoid all gaps and misunderstandings in the conversation, I must try to avoid as many as possible in order for this research to be effective and last for a long time. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. Here are my works cited.